Testosterone drops roughly 1% per year after 40. That's the baseline, documented in long-term data from the Massachusetts Male Aging Study and the Baltimore Longitudinal Study of Aging. But 3 modifiable factors can accelerate that decline beyond the normal rate. And most men over 40 are doing all 3 without knowing it. Today I'm going to walk through the myths, the real mechanisms, and the specific corrections the evidence supports. You may have seen content claiming that your body steals the raw materials for testosterone to make cortisol instead. Something called the cortisol steal or pregnenolone steal. The story sounds logical. So stress goes up, cortisol goes up, and your testosterone drops, because the same building blocks get diverted. Here's the problem, when that's not how your endocrine system works. Testosterone is primarily produced in the cells of the testes, and cortisol is produced in the adrenal cortex. These are separate organs with independently regulated pathways. The raw material pools do not compete in the way the steal model suggests. Well, you may have also heard that 70 to 80% of your testosterone is produced during deep sleep, or that production peaks at 4 a.m. Neither of these figures appears in the peer-reviewed literature. What the research actually shows is different and more useful. Let's go through what the evidence actually says about 3 factors that accelerate testosterone decline. Accelerator 1, sleep disruption. Testosterone levels do rise during sleep. That part is well established. A 2014 review in a leading andrology journal confirmed that the nocturnal testosterone increase is sleep dependent, requiring at least 3 hours of uninterrupted sleep with normal architecture, particularly including the first REM episode. The peak occurs in the early morning and between roughly 7 and 10 a.m., not at 4 a.m. In 2011, researchers at the University of Chicago studied 10 young healthy men who slept only 5 hours per night for 1 week. That daytime testosterone levels decreased by 10 to 15%. However, and this is important for honesty, a 2019 study attempting to replicate this finding in a similar group did not confirm the same magnitude of decline, but the evidence suggests that chronic, sustained poor sleep likely reduces testosterone. But one bad night is not a hormonal catastrophe. The relationship is dose-dependent and cumulative. Evening blue light exposure from screens can suppress melatonin and delay sleep onset. A 2018 systematic review confirmed that 2 hours of blue light exposure in the evening suppresses melatonin secretion. Reducing screen time in the hour before bed is a reasonable, low-cost intervention, not because it protects a 4 a.m. testosterone peak, but because it supports the total sleep architecture that testosterone production depends on. Accelerator 2. Visceral fat. This one has strong evidence. Fat tissue, particularly visceral fat, contains a converter enzyme called which turns testosterone into a form of estrogen. A study using a visceral fat measurement index in American men found that men with higher visceral fat displayed significantly lower testosterone levels and higher risk of testosterone deficiency, especially in older and obese men. Separately, a review in a leading andrology journal confirmed that within fat tissue, aromatase and other enzymes are responsible for metabolizing testosterone into estrogen and inactive byproducts. This creates a self-reinforcing cycle. More visceral fat leads to more of that converter enzyme. More of that converter enzyme means less free testosterone, and less free testosterone makes it easier to accumulate more fat. Breaking the cycle requires reducing visceral fat, not through supplements, but through caloric balance, resistance training, and metabolic health. Accelerator 3. The stress hormone axis. What the cortisol steal actually is that a chronic stress does suppress testosterone, but the mechanism is neuroendocrine, not raw material competition. Here's how it actually works. Sustained elevation of cortisol suppresses the brain signal. That triggers testosterone production. Less of that signal means less of the hormone that tells your testes to produce testosterone from the pituitary, and less of that hormone means less signal to the Leydig cells to do their job. This is a real, documented pathway, but it doesn't work by stealing ingredients. It works by turning down the signal. The distinction matters because the intervention is different. You don't need to replenish stolen building blocks. You need to reduce chronic cortisol elevation to allow normal signaling to resume. Here are 3 specific evidence-informed corrections. No supplements, no elaborate protocols. Correction 1 protects sleep architecture. Aim for 7 to 8 hours per night with consistent timing. Reduce screen exposure in the final 60 minutes before bed. Keep your bedroom cool. 60 to 67. Now our degrees Fahrenheit. If you suspect sleep apnea, snoring, gasping, or daytime fatigue despite adequate time in bed, get a sleep study. Obstructive sleep apnea is independently associated with lower testosterone. Correction 2. Target visceral fat through resistance training and caloric awareness. The aromatase visceral fat cycle is real and modifiable. Resistance training is the most evidence-supported exercise modality for both reducing visceral fat and supporting testosterone levels in men over 40. A 2024 systematic review confirmed that resistance training programs significantly improved testosterone levels in men 40 and older. Actually, you don't need an extreme program. 3 sessions per week of compound movements, squats, deadlifts, rows, presses is sufficient for metabolic benefit. Correction 3, manage chronic stress through the nervous system, not supplements. Deep belly breathing activates the vagus nerve and shifts autonomic balance from sympathetic to parasympathetic dominance. A meta-analysis of breathwork interventions found significant improvements in self-reported stress and reductions in cortisol biomarkers. 5 minutes of slow, deep nasal breathing. Inhale for 4 counts, exhale for 6 to 8 counts. Twice daily is a reasonable starting practice. This is not a replacement for addressing the sources of stress in your life, but it's an accessible tool that has measurable physiological effects. Here's the picture. Testosterone does decline with age, roughly 1% per year. That's biological reality. But the rate of decline is not fixed. Sleep quality, body composition, and chronic stress are 3 levers you can actually pull. The cortisol still isn't real, but the stress hormone axis interaction is. Like, belly fat doesn't steal your testosterone, but that converter enzyme in visceral fat tissue does turn it into estrogen, and your body doesn't produce 80% of its testosterone at 4 a.m., but sleep architecture absolutely matters for the nocturnal rise. The corrections are not dramatic. They're consistent. Sleep, train, breathe. That's the foundation. Every study we reference today is linked in the description. You can verify all of it yourself, even if this changed how you understand testosterone and aging. Subscribe so you don't miss the next video. Drop a comment if you've had your testosterone checked. I'm curious what prompted the test. This content is educational and informational only. It is not medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. If you suspect low testosterone, consult your doctor for a proper blood panel, total testosterone, free testosterone, the hormone that tells your testes to produce testosterone, that binding protein SHBG, and estrogen levels, drawn in the morning between 7 and 10 a.m., when levels are at their physiological peak. Next in the series, 7 everyday foods that may be affecting your testosterone levels, not the clickbait version, the version with actual studies behind each claim. And some of them will surprise you. See you there.